the point that I'm not sure we were heard on, and I want to make this clear, but it is our point, that there's no reason for the police department to be fearful of input from our community. That alone shows a lack of a proper understanding of the role our community should play in the policing of our community.
Answers any of your questions. I'm Renee Packet. I'm the
Okay, my statement will be very brief, and what we will attempt to do is answer questions that you might have regarding the two meetings which took place this morning. The first meeting was with the district attorney, Vanderkamp, and the second meeting, of course, was with Chief Gates here. Our concern primarily in this meeting had to do, number one, with where we are in the Eula Love case, what is being done, and we did receive some input into that. Beyond that, we raised a number of other issues which dealt with such things as their attitudes and position on police review board, on the use of alternative weapons, value system, the system of evaluating the officers, implementation of policies, and what they do about officers who are involved in repeated use of the gun. We indicated our strong feeling that our community is still grieved, is still has a feeling that again, the violation of human life and the low value that this society sometimes attempts to place on black life has occurred again, and that also this is a pattern of an escalated kind of behavior here in the Los Angeles community and within this country as a whole. And it was against this background that we discussed the matters in these two meetings. So that's basically all I have to say in terms of a statement. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
There might be any reopening of the investigation or any further look into what happened in that case?
Well, we were advised by the police chief that the commission is doing some work itself, and that at the conclusion of that report, then we will have some definite idea of whether there's any new information available. We were told by District Attorney Vanderkamp that if any additional information was available, that they would, that was indictable, that they would reopen the case.
Anything said in the two meetings that would tend to put your minds at ease a little bit more? Any policy changes might come forth from this?
Well, let me just put it like this. I don't know anything that could be said that would put our minds at ease. We might be looking at what might be done. I think something done might give us a new willingness to try to reconsider our position. Because one of the things that we raised in these meetings, and I think you should know that, is that we have offered to help. We do not feel that we have gotten much help from the district attorney's office or from the police department in terms of our willingness to help try to break down some of these problems and the confrontation relationship that seems to exist between the department and our community. And frankly speaking, John Mack and Paul Hudson and myself, I mean, we have always had the position that we were willing to work when there was an opportunity to work. We offered certain suggestions, such as some kind of broad-based committee that evaluated officers who were going to work in our communities, so that we could have something really serious to say, more than just, I'm not talking about one person on a committee where actually your voice or the weight of your vote is very limited, but I'm talking about a committee that is specifically of the community itself, designed to help this department evaluate who they send into our communities. And I think that the department is basically afraid of that kind of approach. I mean, and we took the position that the police officer is an individual who comes out of the community to serve the community and to protect the community, and therefore there's no reason that there should be any fear of that relationship between the community and the officer.
How would you characterize the relationship with
You got the standard, one point that interests me, you said you got the standard policy statement on a civilian review board for the police department from the chief, the community being involved in the initial examination for officers.
We discussed that at some length, and he pointed out those situations in which some individuals do participate. I do not think he perceived of our participation at the same level that I perceive of it, because I perceive of it as persons like maybe not just John Mack, myself, preachers, community people on the street, actually having some input, because many times we can look at a person and say, hey, this guy, no way this guy's going to work out in our community. We can see his attitude coming through right now. There are ways in which questions can be asked and determine that this guy has no business in the community. And even if in the evaluation process we should be overruled, and then later on we had to evaluate the behavior of that individual, we would at least have something to go on which would help us to adjust policy in the future. But if you got down to basics, I think that the control of policing in our community should be our control.
Bottom line, that's clearly, I don't think